Still in Nigeria, Olamilekan Adebite, the Minister of Mines and Steel Development, says the Ajaokuta Steel Company will function to capacity before the end of President Buhari's administration. Mr. Adebite made this known during the News Agency of Nigeria Forum in Abuja. He said the federal government has made efforts to ensure that the Russian company that built the steel industry would come to Nigeria to conduct technical audits of the company. Joining us to discuss further, Michael Ogunremi, who is a macroeconomist and fixed income trader, or fixed income analyst with Chapel Hill Denham. Michael, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Let's start with mines and steel. Do you think Ajaokuta can get back on before this administration ends in 2023? Well, what do you think?
Okay, so I think in terms of the feasibility of Ajaokuta still coming on board, it would be nice for us to have it. It would be a very good one. There are projections and speculations that there are about 500,000 jobs that can be generated. So there are about 500,000 jobs that can be generated from, the steel. But the truth remains that in terms of what is currently on ground, there is still a long way to go. Reading up on some of the analysis out there, you discover that there are about three things, Ajaokuta still needs to come on board. Number one, it needs a functional railway system. And then number two, it needs, it needs to have a very good iron blast that would ensure that the steel that is supposed to be produced in Nigeria is being produced, And then it is also important, apart from having the railway and having the blast, to ensure that, every other infrastructures like the power plants there, everything is working, all together. So when you put, these three factors, when you consider the three factors, what you then see is we don't really have a readiness in terms of each of this. And they don't stand in isolation. All three have to work together. So if we do not have all three coming on board, it's going to be very, very difficult for this administration to have that, that Ajaokuta still running.
Thank you, Michael. Very illustrative there. You laid it all out. Let's move to VAT. The Economist Intelligence Unit is a projection that the federal government might be forced to raise VAT from 7.5% to 15% by 2025. They even have a hike coming in 2022, next year, right before an election. I don't know who's brave enough to do that, but what's your take on that projection?
To be very honest, my answer to you is there's nothing they can do. They have no choice but to hike the VAT rates.
Oh, okay.
So here's the thing. If you consider the state of the Nigerian economy, there are very few revenue sources. So besides oil, the other thing the government can do is to privatize assets or to sell existing assets. The last would be taxes. Now, so the way it is now, the government is maxed out on privatization and then selling assets, because it just concluded, the Bureau of Public Enterprise just completed the phase of selling assets. So what they have currently on the table is just taxes. So the way it is, there is absolutely nothing they can do. And then when you look at the structure of Nigerian tax system, you have the company income tax, you have VAT, you have personal income tax. You cannot increase company income tax if the company, industrialization is at a low ebb, which is what we have currently in Nigeria. So there is nothing they can do for that. In terms of personal income tax, wages in Nigeria is not inflation indexed. So if you're increasing tax, you're sort of wearing off a huge portion of, people's salary. So the only thing left is VAT. So the way it is, and when you consider the fact that, the government wants to borrow more, currently they just increased the debt to GDP ratio from 25% to 40%.
Yeah, the ceiling, right?
Yeah, the ceiling, from 25 to 40%, When you consider that and the enormity of the debts we currently have on board, there is nothing they can do. They just have to hike the VAT rates. Wow. That's like the only solution for them right now, in my own opinion.
And they're caught between a rock and a hard place. The NNPC, the shortfall in the remittance to the Federation account, the 63% shortfall. What do you make of those numbers? Because NNPC has been ringing the alarm bells for a while now.
I think at the bottom line is subsidy.
There we go.
Absolutely, it's subsidy. The argument that the NNPC has always advanced is, look, we're paying so much subsidy, about 120 billion every month. It's enormous. It's too much for them to bear, right? And when you now compare that with the fact that the bull run we had in oil prices recently did not really trickle down into revenue. And that is because, Nigeria wasn't producing so much to generate as much from the, the bull trend that we had in oil prices, So it's not surprising that, the NNPC had to remit lower than what, the governors and then other people were expecting. So the NNPC is in a box the way it is. Yeah, the NNPC is in a box. There is very little they can do. So I think that, well, when you look at the trend, the remittances, from January all the way down to May, has actually been increasing. But I think the issue is the fact that, the governors want more, and then the people, the federal government, every other body that takes from the federation account wants more. But the truth is there is very little the NNPC can do, because of the fact that they are paying so much subsidy. So what would definitely, or what would possibly be a solution, to this would be to say that, look, why not, go do the normal thing, take out the subsidy, use the subsidy payment to fix the refineries. Let us produce the crude internally. That way we save the cost of importation, we cut out, the subsidy payments, and then, the NNPC is sort of relieved. That way we can see more inflows coming to the fact. But if we have the current trend of the NNPC financing a $120 billion dollar monthly subsidy, it's going to be very difficult for them, to meet up with that.
Looks like the theme of our discussion is caught between a rock and a hard place, and
Absolutely.
you got no choice. Michael Ogunremi, a macroeconomist, also a fixed income analyst at Chapel Hill Denham. Thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate your insights.